All right, good morning, everyone. It's good to have you all here for another lecture today. Welcome, and welcome to all of you with us over the internet. We're going to have a beautiful lecture today about following the footsteps of Jesus, a very simple task to do. And a very simple task to do, right? Following Jesus' steps. So Rafael, I think, is going to give us today the recipe for it, which I don't think there's an easy one. But before, as always, before we have our lecture, we're going to have our reading, and then we're going to have our initial prayer.
Good morning. So the reading today is from Happy Life book, written by Divaldo Franco, by Joana de Angelis. Accept people just as they appear to you. This arrogant man that you do not like is sick and might not know it. This recalcitrant gentleman is unhappy with himself. That demanding equitance has nerve problems. Some who appear proud are nearly suffering from conflicts that they try to hide. Others, who appear to be indifferent, are expecting terrible fears. The earth is a great hospital of souls. The person who sees you just superficially has no way of analyzing you correctly. Let everyone be what they are and not what they want them to be.
So let us all now here close our eyes, elevate our thoughts and our hearts to God, our Creator, to Jesus, our Master, and the good spirits here that are around us at this moment. And thank them for the moment, the opportunity of being here so we can learn a little bit more from the gospel. We ask for our benefactors to enlighten Raphael during this lecture so he can help us to understand a little bit of your laws of love and fraternity. And so be it. Raphael, it's all yours.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
So the title of the lecture today is Following the Footsteps of Jesus. And as Teresa said, it's not something that is very easy to do. However, we are in a position where it wasn't supposed to be that hard. And it's surprisingly simple, but we still find it so difficult to do it. We see ourselves once again in a world that is submerged in the dark fog of conflict. And when you evaluate, you try to see the root cause of conflict after conflict. And you see there's actually very simple, is the illusion of superiority. We can call it pride or we can call it selfishness, but all it does is making us look at our neighbor, at other people, and think that they're less than what we are. And we can put levels or we can put masks on top of that, but that's the root cause. If I'm raised in a culture speaking a particular language, and I see people, and of course, because of that culture, I have a system of beliefs. that it always comes with the culture. Thank you. Either because my parents raised me that way, or society pushes me that way. For example, it's very hard not to celebrate Christmas in Canada because everything changes at Christmas time. I have many friends who are not Christians, and they celebrate Christmas because it's like part of the culture. They want to participate. So this culture pushes us towards that, and that's okay. There is no problem there. The problem starts when I see a different culture, people that were raised in a different way, and they have a different set of beliefs. And I see myself as superior for whatever reason. So we do that so often, but it's so hard to understand why we do it. I might think without any evidence, I might think that I belong to a type of human that is superior to others. That is so common still. No evidence whatsoever. And then I create this illusion that those who look like me, they have to dominate. They have the right to dominate the others that I judge to be less than what I am. And it's all based on that. I read one book, and I make my opinions based on that book. And then another person reads another book and make their opinions based on that book. There's no problem. The problem rises when I think that the book I read is better than the book they read. It's all based on that. This is the lack of vision that we have. We don't see each other. We don't see the other person. We were taught a long time ago, love your neighbor as you love yourself. This was Jesus telling us, see the other person as you see yourself. You have feelings. You can get hurt. All you want is to be happy. Sometimes we don't know how to be happy. We think that by buying stuff, by acquiring money, we're going to be happy. And then we pursue the money, we pursue the material assets, we pursue power, we pursue society achievements. But in the deep inside, all we want is just to be happy. And the other people around you that are making mistakes, as you are also trying to be happy. That's the root cause, is we don't see each other. And now it's much easier to wage war or to start a conflict because I don't even see the other people. We don't see who is being hurt, who is being killed, because I'm thousands of kilometers away and I'm pressing a button. We don't see each other. After so long, after developing this heritage of religiosity, we still don't see each other, and we don't see ourselves. We don't see ourselves. I heard a quote this week that says that there are good people, there are bad people, but to make a good person to do bad things requires religion. What does that mean? Another quote. The worst conflicts, the worst wars are always based on religion. In a very superficial level, there's evidence to that, so it's true. But that's because we are actually not understanding what religion means. This is not religion. How can you justify killing and at the same time follow someone that never hurt anybody? Quite the opposite. Sacrificed himself and taught us this is how you suffer. You don't complain. You take it. You take it and you carry your cross by yourself. How can we justify it? And this is one example. Because we don't see in ourselves what we are doing, the modifications that we are doing in order to turn religion into an economical and political institution. When I speak about religion, I speak about an awakening. It doesn't have to be in a spiritist center. It doesn't have to be on a church. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. Because it happens inside of us. It's an awakening. It could be a biologist studying life and understanding the beauty of everything that is in front of him in the microscope. And having that awakening and understanding, just marveling on life, the creation of life, the complexities of life. It could be an astrophysicist that studies the universe and marvels on the amount of worlds and suns and black holes. It's an awakening inside, and that provides a cosmic perspective, like Carl Sagan when Voyage 2, I forgot now where it was, maybe in Saturn, and he convinced NASA to turn the lenses of Voyager back to Earth, and then it was just a pale blue dot. That is our world. And then he wrote a book, The Pale Blue Dot, where he said everything that we ever learned, everybody that you ever loved, everybody that ever lived, it's in that blue dot. So he was trying to provide a perspective. So we can have a person that feels the peace that is brought to their lives after reading the gospel, not just reading, but trying to actually put in practice. A Hindu that experiences the pleasures of meditation. So all this is religion, is an internal awakening. Well, what we normally understand, unfortunately, is the socio-political institutions that only disguise that feeling of superiority that we feel for ourselves, and we feel the inferiority, or we think that the others are inferior to us. But that's not all. It's the necessity to change, to make the others submit to what we believe is correct. Because we were raised that way. But because we don't see ourselves, we don't understand that maybe if I was born in a different place, in a different country, under a different culture, raised by different parents, perhaps I would think like that other person that today I think is inferior to me. That's always the root cause. So, I wanted to bring to you today a lecture that was delivered in 1947. Not in this world. It was delivered by a spirit called Eusebio, and is described in this book, In the Greater World, psychographed by Chico Xavier. So on that occasion, it was night on a grassy field among trees, and Eusebio gathered spiritual leaders from all over. Some discarnated and some incarnated. They were sleeping. He gathered them all in there, and he gave this very, very important lecture. I will read a few paragraphs, and I will just comment on each one of them. So the first one, by the way, this was witnessed by André Luiz. So André Luiz is the spirit that is always writing to us through Chico Xavier. Interesting enough, we are so stubborn that after 2,000 years, the dad had to come to remind us of the right path. It couldn't be anybody alive. It couldn't be. We tried that, it didn't work. It had to be the discarnated ones. Everything had to come from the other side. Why? Because they have a different perspective. It's a completely different perspective. Where is the money that you save your whole life? I don't have it anymore. All your assets. Where is the power that you had? I don't have it anymore. All you have is what you are. That's all. So it's a completely different perspective. That's why they had to come back and see. You remember that guy there? You remember that Jewish person? That carpenter that most probably we nailed him to the cross? So he was right. And we are coming to remind you to follow his footsteps, to understand what he wanted to say to you. Actually, he's the one who sent us here today. So Eusebio, he starts saying to the religious leaders, if the heritage of religious faith represents the undeniable factor of mental balance in the world, what are you doing with this treasure? Forgetting to use it in an age when instability and uncertainty threaten all the institutions of order and labor, of understanding and edification. This was true in 47 and is true in 2026. And he states, religious faith represents the undeniable factor for mental balance. Why would religion help us with our mental health? As I said, I'm separating from the institutions. I'm talking about the internal awakening, the perception, the understanding of what your life is. What's your place in life? To actually see the world. You can only do that if you make silence. It forces you to silence yourself. The problem is that sometimes something has to happen, something has to hurt for us to stop and actually comprehend or make an effort to comprehend our own lives. This morning, for example, I had a religious experience. I went for a run and I slipped on a patch of ice and I fell on my back. And while lying there, I was thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing running in this weather? I could have been anywhere else. And now my back is reminding me of that lesson. So sometimes we have to fall on our backs in life. We are all incarnated. Apart from the extra, we have 3 vicissitudes, 3 sufferings that we all are going to go through or are going through because we are incarnated. You're going to get sick. You are incarnated. You're going to get sick. You're going to get old. You're incarnated. You're going to get old. And you're going to die. All of us, we will die. This, apart from the extras. What are the extras? The extras are our own actions that are coming back. And they're showing us that maybe that was not the right choice. So what is it, back to Eusebio? What is it that Eusebio was telling us? That if you stop to think, if you stop to question yourself, if you stop to try to understand your position in life, maybe you would have made different decisions before you take revenge, if you have that opportunity. Before you take it, it's right there in front of you. You think a little bit. You think. Or better yet, you ask for help to make a decision. Haroldo Dutra, in this January, in one of his lectures, he said that Jesus communicates with us via emojis. He sends emojis. What does that mean? If we are in a situation and we ask for help, we are not going to listen to Jesus talking to us, or we're not going to see Jesus in front. If you do, there's something wrong. You're not going to see him in front of you. You're going to feel something. You're there in that moment. There is no hope and you're desperate and you make up a prayer. 30 seconds later, you feel hope growing inside of you. You feel something inside. It's not so much despair anymore. I have a gap. I have a little bit of energy that just showed up inside of me to look for a solution. I have a little bit of clarity now to make a decision. So that's Jesus sending an emoji. It's a feeling from inside. That's religion. That's this awakening. And it doesn't have to be, it's an inherit, it's something that we inherit as human beings. There's no label. It could be on any name that you want. We have it as human beings. And as Eusebio is asking the spiritual leaders, but it could be any of us, what have you done with this inheritance? Well, with all this that already has been developed So we have religious institutions all over. This house, TSS, we have been here, what, 15 years. So in these 15 years, we learned a lot in terms of how to maintain the house. We learn as spiritists in our studies. So there is a lot that we develop. We develop ourselves as a community. We learn to work together, to organize ourselves. And what are we doing with all this? In many places in the world, there are institutions that have been there for centuries, sometimes for thousands of years. And what is that? Where are they applying that? In a situation of instability of the world, and they should be using that to stabilize, to spread love, to spread comprehension, understanding, mental health. And they're doing the opposite. So this is what Eusébio is trying to tell them, to bring this to them. As those spiritual leaders, they either will reincarnate, go back to earth and continue, or they're going to wake up in the next day and continue their ministry. So he's telling them to wake up, because this is not how everything began. These institutions were based on people that all they preached was peace. Somewhere along the way, we lost our way. We lost ourselves. And it's because we fail to see ourselves and to see our brothers and sisters. So, when Eusébio brings this, he mentions Jesus Christ. But this Jesus, it's not the son of a king in heaven, or a special being that was created since the beginning of time to be superior. In the same way that we feel superior to others, we need a superior being for us to follow, otherwise we're not going to follow. It has to be superior, it has to be more. It has to favor us and punish the ones that we don't like. Interesting enough, Jesus spent about 3 years in his preaching and spreading the gospel. He was killed and he came back. He walked on water, multiplied bread. The only thing we remember is the cross. The only thing we remember is when he was nailed to a cross. That's all we remember. And then we think that following Jesus is to suffer. It's based on suffering. If you read very carefully the New Testament, you'll see that Jesus is a very happy guy. And they were all friends. When he first meets Simon Peter and maybe James, I forgot. He comes to them with open arms and laughing and smiling. It's friends. And he hugs them. He's not a gloomy guy. But for some reason, all we remember is that cross. Well, anyway, this is not the Jesus that we learn to follow in Spiritism. Because remember that we came to Jesus after, actually, we follow the evidence. We follow the evidence, existence of spirits, existence of the spiritual world, evolution of the spirit, cause and effect, the cause of human suffering, and then Jesus. That was the path that we followed in Spiritism. So we follow Jesus as a consequence. So he's not this special being. Jesus is a spirit like you and I that already passed through the steps that we are going through a long time ago. And he reached a level that we can't comprehend. It's the same way that a kindergarten will try to understand a university professor. It's too different. We can't comprehend. But he achieved a high level of perfection. If you reach perfection, that's just perfection. How can it be a high level of perfection? It's a problem with our words. It's to try to define a state that we have no way of understanding. But the spirits tell us that when you reach perfection is when you are free. Free from pain. You suffer a different type of pain. You don't have the pain that comes with bad choices, with acting against your own conscience. When you reach perfection, every action you take, it's in balance with the laws of the universe. And everything you do is for the good of everyone around you and yourself. So you don't receive so the consequence is only happiness and more happiness and more happiness, and pushes you forward. That's perfection. It's when and that's the level that Jesus wants all to achieve. He said so himself. But after we reach perfection and we are free, then we start learning other things. The learning and the growing doesn't end. It keeps going. It keeps going. The pain that we're going to feel is that we are going to receive responsibilities. No one evolves for nothing. No one evolves just to sit down left or right of God and stay there. No. You will work. If you have a lot will be asked of you. So you'll be responsible for a city of incarnate people, or a whole world of incarnate people. Why? Because the amount of love that you learn to develop can involve that whole planet. Evolution, it's about how big our love is, how much people we can put inside of our own hearts. So you see, it's completely the opposite of not seeing the others and thinking that we are superior. No, it's thinking that those are my brothers, those are my sisters, and those are people that I will help. Not because I'm asked to, but because I want to. And then the pain that comes, it's from seeing that these people that I love are creating suffering for themselves. I tell them not to do it, they do it anyway. And we have to watch. And we have to watch as parents, watch their sons and daughters make bad decisions. We'll be in peace. So those spirits, they are in peace. But they suffer for those that they love. So it's a different type of suffering. But they themselves are always at peace. So when we hear talking about Jesus, this is the Jesus that we talk about. It's this friend, this spirit that reached this level of evolution that allows him to love us all. And we can't comprehend how can he love me? Who am I? I've never seen him. I never sat down and share a meal with him. He does. We can't comprehend why, but he does. And this is the Jesus that we refer to. This is our master, and this is our guide. And this is the guy that we forgot. And we keep forgetting. And when he was with us, he showed us his footsteps of humbleness. He was always humble. There was a situation when Jesus was starting, maybe in his first year. And he was already living Capernaum with the apostles, and they decided to go to Nazareth. At that time, even in Capernaum, they were gathering a lot of people that were suffering, laborers, people that had difficult lives, or people that were sick. They were already gathering around Jesus just to listen to him. He used to talk in around the Galilean Sea. It's not a sea, it's a lake, but for them they call it a sea. It's very big. There was already a lot of people there. Because at that time, to listen that you are important, you are not forgotten. Because imagine the Roman Empire, where they did think that Romans are superior. They believed that if I conquer a country and I put that country under my control, that country will be better, because now it will be Rome. And that came back in England. And in the 18th century, this was a very common thought. English royalty were put there by God. So for them to dominate the plebeians is the will of God. Well, going back to Jesus. So they decided to go to Nazareth. And they went to Nazareth. But when they got there, people did not receive them well. Just going back to see the name of the apostles that I always forget. So they gather people, but those who saw Jesus as a revolutionary, as a liar, as a sorcerer, charlatan, they started to multiply. And even among those who were watching Jesus, speak, because the apostles were all around. And they were slandering him right there, watching him. And of course he knew. And the apostles, they could not take that. They had to go and argue. And they were having very serious arguments with people, yelling at each other. And Jesus didn't say anything. But then he saw that it was not very fruitful to be in Nazareth. So he talked to the apostles and said, let's leave. Let's leave the city. Let's go back to Capernaum. But then the apostles, they really didn't understand, well, why? You can do all this. Why can't you go there and defend yourself? Especially Philip and Peter. They were kind of the ones who spoke the most, maybe the leaders. So Peter, in the end, became the leader. There was Matthew, James, Andrew. They were all upset. And Jesus didn't say anything. It allowed for a few days to pass. After a few days, they went to Jesus. Okay, we can't take anymore. Let's go and talk to him, because I don't understand why he's acting like that. So passive. And they went, and Jesus said, we need to talk to you. When we were in Nazareth, I know that you were just too peaceful to defend yourself. This is in the text, okay? I'm telling with my own words, but that's what they said. You can't defend yourself, so we did it for you. We went there and we told them everything we wanted to say. We argued with them, and we used logic, and we were really good. And then, of course, Jesus heard them all. And at the end, he said, do you believe that you can collect or harvest grapes from thorns? He used to speak like that to make them understand. That is easy to remember. Do you think that by shouting at each other, you're going to change anything? You think that you did anything? You didn't do anything. If you remember, this is Jesus speaking to his words. After we left Nazareth, we stopped in every single village along the way. And we spread our word. Those simple people, they were thirsty to hear us. Why are you losing time with those that do not want to hear you? By the way, to think that everyone will receive you with praise is vanity. That's your vanity. Forget the evil. Concentrate on the good that you can do with your actions. That was always his lesson. Actions. With actions. I might have someone there that doesn't like me, doesn't want to hear me, or doesn't want to listen to me, but there's someone here that needs my help, that I can help. So why would I worry? So this was his lesson to them. And it was on that moment that Peter asked, okay, all right, how many times do I have to forgive? 70 times 7. Which is symbolism. It's symbolism. Forgiving is not for the other person. Because Jesus also said, if you forgive someone, don't wait around to see if that person has any regrets. Because it has nothing to do with that person. It has to do with you. It has to do with your work. You forget. You concentrate on your work, your words. there's something very interesting in the gospel. The roots, the gospel can only work because we all have consciences. Because we already know what is the right and wrong. But we need this internal awakening, religion, to show it to us, to bring us to a moment of silence so then we can hear ourselves. If we didn't have that, none of the gospel would have worked. When Jesus says, defending the adulterous woman, who among you never sinned, never did anything wrong, throw the first stone. He was talking to people's consciences. And the reason that he had an impact is because everyone that listened realized that they were wrong. And when I say that we don't see ourselves, it's because we don't stop to listen to our own conscience. When we are taken by this feeling of superiority, people that think different than us, and it creates this discomfort. Sometimes it can get to a point where we want to cause harm, to stop the discomfort, to stop the opinion that is different than ours from coming out. It's too uncomfortable. Because we don't stop to think that the reason for that discomfort is it's inside of us. It's not the person. It's us. But anyway, and then we take to violence. And we did it over and over and over again. So many times. And it never solves it. Violence can stop an action. You can use violence to defend your house. You can. But you will not stop the other person from wanting to rob houses. You can't stop that. You can stop an action. So if you hurt someone, you will never change that opinion. And then it comes the news that we learn from Spiritism that makes everything worse. You can't kill anybody. You can't. We are all immortal spirits. It's going to come back, and even worse, because then it comes with a feeling of revenge against you. We tried over and over and over again to destroy mentalities with war, and they keep coming back. They keep coming back. Don't we have white supremacist groups growing again, spreading all over? It's there again. It's the same people. When is it that we make a change? When we focus on working together for the common good. With whatever imperfection we have, but when we focus and develop the common good, the Charter of Rights, Constitution, laws, that we try to make it more and more just. That's the way we develop ourselves. It's by working together. Sometimes we think that being among people is just asking for problems. And we try to, live somewhere where there's nobody. Another news that we learn from Spiritism: will never be alone. we're always going to work together. Even Jesus, he has a team. He has a team of people. Interesting enough, in the book On the Way to the Light, Emmanuel tells us that Allan Kardec was actually a member of that group. When Jesus asked, okay, the gospel, it is good, but we need to remind that people. We need to remind that people once again, but it cannot be with anybody incarnated. Who among you want to go and take that mission? Allan Kardec. I'll go. When he was here, he didn't even knew, even remembered, but he volunteered. So we're always going to work together. Sometimes it's difficult. But this is what it means to follow the footsteps of Jesus. The first thing he did was to surround himself with friends. And he never put himself in a position of superiority. He always respected them all their positions. Even Judas, the merchant that betrayed him. Judas didn't see himself as betraying Christ. So if you guys don't know, but the plan of Judas was, Jesus is too good. He's too naive. He doesn't really understand how the world works. You see that the mentalities and the personalities, they keep coming. We see that today. And his plan was, I'm a merchant. I'm a businessman. I know how to deal with politics. I'm going to give Jesus up, get a place in a high standard in the society, get a little bit of power. I'm going to free Jesus, and then I'm going to put him with the people that actually make the difference, not these sick and poor people that don't mean anything. That was his plan. That was his plan. You see, that is a plan of someone that doesn't actually comprehend how Jesus' plan was supposed to work. He didn't see himself. He didn't comprehend himself. But that was his plan. He didn't want to betray Jesus. So much so that when Jesus was in the cross, he was praying for Judas because he knew that Judas was with suicidal thoughts, and he ended up killing himself. And he went there and rescued Judas later. So, to follow the footsteps of Jesus, it's not something complicated. It's difficult, but it's not complicated. It teaches us to concentrate on the work that we do every day. Whatever it is that you do, if you find yourself in front of a field with a plow in your hand, what is it that you're supposed to do? Plow the land. So it doesn't mean that we have to stop everything that we are doing to follow a different path. No, you continue the path that you are. But you remember your own conscience. Exercise this internal awakening. Try to understand yourself and the others around you. And you use the small opportunities that life gives you. Sometimes it's very small. I remember one opportunity. when in my company we were developing a product, like very expensive, $50,000-$60,000. It's like a box of batteries and inverters, so that you put in the middle of nowhere and you can power a house, 2 houses, solar panels and everything. And there was an issue with the product, and we had to release with certain specs, and it was not meeting the specs. So on that meeting, executive meeting, they were agreeing to send the product the way it was anyway, even without the specs being met. This is very simple, but it's something that is just to serve as an example. So in that moment, I asked, if you pay this amount of money, what is it that you want to receive? Of course, who am I? But I knew that everybody there had a conscience. I just had to remind them. And they agreed with me, and the product went out with the right specs and meeting everything. It's very simple, very simple. This time, it was me reminding them. Sometimes it's them reminding me. But these small victories that we have, it helps us to put another brick in the temple that we are building inside of ourselves. That's the right temple. That's the right institution. It's inside of ourselves. And try it. Learn the gospel. Learn Spiritism. Put in practice. Because that's going to give you resilience. You fail once, but once you get it right, you understand that will give you peace. It may not stop pain, but it's going to give you peace. And it's going to end desperation. And you yourself will learn how to put in practice. So once you have, I'm going to use an analogy. We build this temple inside of us, then we turn on the light. This is when we start actually inspiring others to do the same. That's Jesus' footsteps. That's where he was building. He wanted to build his temple. It's inside of us. Because it doesn't go away. You're going to discarnate, you're going to continue. You're going to come back, you're going to bring it with you. And once it's there, it doesn't go away. And if we start, one person reaches that awakening, that light, influences another person, that influences another person, that influences another person. That's the only way to dissipate this fog that we have in our planet. That's the only way. There's no other way. There's no other way. Anything else that we do, it may stop for a while, but it's going to come back. Your violence doesn't stop anything. Sometimes, in order for us to inspire, we have to deliver silence. Sometimes, that's what is required of us. See that in Spiritism, we'll never say that we should be passive in society. Actually, no Spiritist center is passive in society. It's quite the opposite. That's why you're never going to see people that work in Spiritist center with a salary. That doesn't exist. It's the other way around. We have our lives, we have our professions, and we bring money from our own pockets. There is no salary here. because you still have to maintain, to participate, to be active in society. We will never be passive. Never. But it doesn't mean that we have to be aggressive or violent. That's our heritage, is to continue working in an environment of peace. That's Jesus' footsteps. Thank you, guys. All right. So how should I ask or you can?
We don't have much time actually for comments or
Yeah?
questions. But
Okay.
anybody has anything quick to say or to ask?
All right. So we're going to pass.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone that was with us over the internet. I'm hoping to see you here back next Sunday. And we are off.